Greetings, metaphysicians. This is episode 171, Soul Repair, and we are continuing our in-depth look at the different processes of the body of knowledge of angelic reformation. Enjoy.
You're listening to Let's Get Metaphysical. This podcast explores the spiritual and metaphysical world through the experiences and opinions of the host and those interviewed. It should not necessarily be seen as direct endorsement or personal advice to our listeners. We encourage you to use your own discernment, judgment, and intuition regarding anything you learn from this show. The statements and advice offered in this podcast are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition, and are not substitutes for prudent medical care offered by licensed medical professionals. References to healing or treatments in this episode are describing faith-based blessings performed by God and the master healing angels. Neither this episode nor any part of it may be copied, transcribed, distorted, sold, republished, or distributed without first receiving the express written permission of both the CMA International Foundation and Up and Awaken Productions.
Let's get meta.
Welcome to the Let's Get Metaphysical podcast. I'm your host, Renata Maniaci. Here to remind you, you are a spiritual being having a temporary human experience here on lovely planet Earth. That's right, you are a temporary human, but a permanent soul. Enjoy it. This is Season 8, Angelic Reformation, and this is episode 171, Soul Repair. This season is all about the body of knowledge known as Angelic Reformation, as well as a close look at each of its tools. And this particular episode is about an angelic reformation process called soul repair. If you have not yet listened to the first 2 episodes for this season, please go ahead and listen to episode 168, Angelic Reformation, and episode 169, The Evolution of Consciousness, before listening into this episode. It will provide needed context for what we are talking about. Now, if you are ready, then let's get meta. Master Angels, I humbly request your presence, guidance, and support through this episode. Please help these words to be useful to all listeners on their evolutionary journey. Let me know the truth, speak the truth, become the truth, and be the truth. And please let this episode reach whoever needs to hear it. Thank you with full faith. Bless creation. Today we are talking about the soul repair process. And just to remind everyone, a process in this context is an MP3, kind of like an audio meditation. There are currently 15 processes in the array of tools that make up angelic reformation. We are exploring soul repair today because it is one of the 2 processes that Master John Douglas recommends people start with if they are interested in rapidly developing their consciousness. The other process being the topic of the episode just prior to this one, subconscious repair. I want to start by giving you the short description of the 13-minute soul repair process direct from the website where it can be purchased. Receiving the power of the soul is a highly advanced spiritual healing and development technique. It can lead to greater awareness, higher functioning, divine oneness at increasing levels, development of discernment, and deepening faith in divinity. Its suggested use is every day, sitting up or lying down. And all of the processes in the angelic reformation body of knowledge, including soul repair, can be listened to every day except for the subconscious repair process from the previous episode, which is recommended only once per week. and soul repair comes highly recommended to be listened to every day. Before I jump into my own experience with the soul repair process, I want to play a few testimonials from people who use soul repair regularly. Enjoy.
Hi, my name's Audie, and I'm from Austin, Texas. I wanted to share a little bit about my experience with soul repair. I found it to be one of the most grounding processes for me. It was one of the first ones I listened to, so I guess we could say it was the most familiar. If my mind wandered too much and I can't seem to focus, I'd just sit quietly and I would listen to it, and I would just feel so much more connected almost instantly. And when I first started listening to it every day, I found it very interesting that there was a noticeable difference in me after a couple months of using it, because everybody commented on it. They would be like, "What are you doing? What have you been up to lately? Something's different, and you look great. What's going on?" And honestly, nothing really changed. I just listened to that process every day. And at some point throughout the process, he talks about your soul energy coming through and the different rays of light. And I'm not really sure what's happening, but I do feel a difference. And whether it be more peace or just more love, I find it to be an instant reminder just to be kinder to myself and everyone else around me. And especially in stressful situations, I would find that to be my go-to process. So it's so much so that I decided to play it as I was giving birth to my son. And I could just feel all the blessings coming down to me and him and everyone in the room. And I feel so blessed that we have soul repair, and I highly recommend listening to it every day.
Hi, this is Michelle from Charleston, South Carolina, and this is my experience with soul repair. When I press play, I feel an energy thick as honey, golden, that pours down from over my head and fills me up. And it gives me feelings of bliss and joy and happiness, and a desire to stay like that, unmoving, forever. Thank you, Master John and Master Angels, for these gifts.
Hi, I'm Frida, and I live in North Carolina. Master John's soul repair process is one of the processes that I listen to on a daily basis. Usually, I make sure and listen to it before I even start my day. It has empowered me to trust myself through my soul's divine connection to God's center rather than relying on external sources. I find I am more and more able to choose the path that best supports my learning and growth, and it also reinforces my inner knowing that is aligned with my divine path. As I continue using Master John's processes, I see I am trusting my soul's guidance more and more. And also I'm recognizing the alignment with divine center is definitely the best path forward for me.
A big thank you to all who shared their experiences with us. So I have been listening to soul repair almost every day since May of 2016. And I want to tell you a bit about why I started to do that and what I noticed. So I started listening after I went to the first event I ever saw Master John Douglas at. He gave a talk and then he did personal healings. And one of the things that made me want to listen to these processes, to give them a try, to really kind of almost just try them, see if they worked, experiment with them, is because I have a deep interest in both science and spirituality. And his talk touched deeply on both of those aspects, balanced them, mixed them in this seamless melange of those two things, which I had frankly never seen anyone do before, as well as him. This was in what I'm going to call like the high point of my spiritual development exploration moment. I had been seeing any spiritual teacher that I could, any healer, any guru, any astronomer, anyone who did some form of energy healing technique or anything else you can think of. That moment for me started in 2014. And I've talked about this before on the podcast, so I'll try to share different aspects of this story before, but I was just interested in all of it, which is why I found myself in his event in the first place. A friend had told me about it casually, and it was low-hanging fruit. It was in DC. I said yes. I was traveling to different places in the world at that time to see different spiritual teachers and healers. And if someone was coming right on my doorstep, I wanted to see them. And so I was at that moment just immersed in all of this, open to everything. And one thing that was noticeable about his talk is its seamless blend of spiritual development, answering questions that humans naturally have being on this planet, why we have disease, how things can crop up, how they can be healed with spiritual techniques. But he explained it in a way that was so grounded and logical and scientific and precise. I don't know, it just touched something in me that I so wanted to experience, to hear, that I hadn't yet. A lot of the seeking that I had done was way more on the metaphysical side, and many people would experience things that I had seen as woo-woo, right? We've heard that word before. Too ungrounded, too in the magical, in the metaphysical, in that world, too unexplained, and because it was unexplained, it was then dismissed, right? That doesn't mean that that's right, but that's just how we as humans do things. We like to see tangible evidence, at least I do and did, and proof, and be able to logically reason and explain how things work. And that aspect for me, though I was so interested in all of these different methods and modalities, most things that I was seeing did not mix the two so flawlessly, didn't mix the science with the spirituality so flawlessly. At that point in my life, I was learning a energy healing technique called healing touch. I became a practitioner and then an instructor of that technique. This is after I received my master's in public health, and while I was simultaneously in massage school, which, by the way, is kind of academic heavy. There's a lot of anatomy and physiology that you need to learn, and it's not necessarily for the faint of heart. So this is to say, I had already tried a few energy medicine techniques to learn because I had started feeling energy in my hands inexplicably in 2012 while I was still in my master's program. And that's kind of what set me on this journey of trying to figure out what that was, why it was, because I didn't understand it. And some of the techniques that I approached first were great. They gave me some understanding. They showed me that I wasn't alone, that other people could feel energy too, but it didn't satisfy my more scientific, reasoned, logical side of me, because they didn't know how to explain it in terms of physics, in terms of proof, in terms of like physically how it works, which is what led me to healing touch, which I would argue is a beautiful modality that touches on both of these things in a logical, reasoned way that explains the more metaphysical aspects of how energy works and moves through the body. But this isn't about that. I'm explaining to you why his talk interested me so much, because of all these people and modalities and methods and sessions that I'd been trying. out of all of them, this talk he gave blended these two parts that are so important to me together perfectly. So that was one reason. The other reason I wanted to try these processes is because I had seen a miracle right in front of my own eyes. The person I came with, and I've explained this previously on the podcast, even a few episodes ago, had a miracle happen during her personal session. Master John saw that she had Japanese encephalitis in her frontal lobe, and she had had these symptoms for months at that time, but had no idea what it was. He saw it, he killed it, just the thing that was causing the problem, and it was done. No more symptoms, no more anything, no more pain, no more mood swings. It was just done. So it was a combination of those two things, seeing the miracle in front of my eyes and also just appreciating the way he talked during the event and how all of these spiritual development ideas and evolving your consciousness and finding ways out of illness and sickness and various things that befall us as humans were so grounded in this logical, easy to follow, scientific way to understand how these tools could work and do work. And that's why I bought Subconscious Repair and Soul Repair at the end of that event and started using them. And I talked about Subconscious Repair in the previous episode. And so I took to listening to Soul Repair every day. And I usually listened to it right when I woke up while I was still laying in bed or right before I went to sleep. That's how I started listening to it. And, people experience each of these processes differently, which makes sense, right? It makes sense that these processes are experienced differently because they go to the specific issues and belief systems and pre-programming that we need to work out ourselves in this lifetime because of our growth lessons, our past karma, and our issues that we get to evolve in, hopefully, if we're lucky and, the right things come across our path in this lifetime to evolve through. But what I mean is everyone experiences this differently. Some people hear this process and they feel it. They can feel the different things happening to them throughout this process. Some people press play and were fully awake when they did so and find themselves completely out cold for the entire process, only to wake up the second that it's done, as though they've been placed in this deep, inexplicable slumber for the time that the process is working on them. I am neither of those things for this process. Each process is different for me. This one just feels nice. I enjoy it, but I do not have any specific sensations like other people do. I usually do not fall asleep during this process. It just happens, and I listen to it for the 13 minutes it takes. And that's what I did. I listened to it, and I still listen to it every day. Now, over time, what I recognized a lot of different things shifting with me, but the ones that I can attribute to this particular process are things that allowed me to become more me. Now, how do I explain that? We all have our soul, right? But our full soul is so big and divine and luminous that it can't fit in a human body. I've said this before. It would be like trying to fit a rainbow in a Coke bottle. It doesn't work. We have our soul. We have part of our souls that enliven our body and are here with us, but the whole thing can't fit. But what Soul Repair does is it helps to bring more of the soul down into the human body, our physical form over time, because it removes the pieces of our human self that are taking up space that don't need to. This is my way of explaining it, by the way. The best way to hear about it is to listen to Master John talk about it, and I'll get to that a little bit later, a way to do that. Over time, listening to this, what I have personally experienced is it's like this process helps to melt walls or shields that I've put up in different aspects of my self, whether it's my heart or my mind or my personality, things that I place there in this lifetime or past lifetimes, probably to protect myself, likely to protect myself from various things. But what it does is it prevents me from being truly who I am. Those walls or shields or whatever they are prevent me from being fully who my soul is, right? The true aspect of myself. And so over time, what I've experienced is those things melting away, those aspects that are able and allowed to live within me, my physical body, and that do affect me. They affect my personality. They affect the way I am and act and speak to people. They affect my ego and what I believe, right? Those things melt away slowly, and I can let go a bit more. And each time a wall comes down, it's like there's room for more of my own soul to drop in and live within me and embody me more, allowing me to be more of myself. It's the best way that I can describe it. It's a difficult thing to describe, truly. But over time, I've noticed that. And what that looks like is being less defensive in all ways, in any way, needing to defend or protect or have barriers to my inner self less, because those walls are just gone and my soul is taking over those spots. That's what it feels like. It also allows me to care less about things that are very humanly constructed beliefs or ideas, because it's not the truth. It's like my soul can sense when something is kind of just, small talk or things that we do as humans. But that has just drifted away more and more and more as the true aspect of me, the soul, comes in more. And I just have less tolerance for things like that. Not tolerance in like a negative way. It's not like I'm going to hurt anybody or talk to anybody like that. It's just like, it doesn't matter to me anymore. If someone thinks X, Y, or Z about me, I don't really care, because I can feel more of who I truly am, if that makes sense. So this has been my experience, my personal experience with soul repair. It is and continues to help me become more me. And again, this transformation and change is brought about by listening to this 13-minute process, not by doing, eating, dieting, talking, ingesting, quitting, eliminating, running, smoking, walking, communicating, exercising, purging, cleansing, or detoxing. Not that any of those are necessarily negative, bad, or wrong, but just to highlight that it is through listening that these profound evolutions of your consciousness occur. And I want to mention that I have several deaf friends and clients over the years who have found tremendous benefit in these processes despite not being able to hear them. Pressing play on these processes activates many spiritual development processes that are performed on the listener during the time frame of the audio, while the listener sits or lays quietly. It is a compact, time-bound spiritual technology given to us by the Master Angels through the teacher, Master John Douglas, and is available to anyone. This process and all the processes costs $150 each, one time. Listen, change, and transform for the rest of your life just by pressing play. Now, earlier I said that this is one of two processes that Master John Douglas recommends starting with, if you feel called to this work. For these two processes, there is a special package called the Bliss Bundle on the website. And instead of spending $300 for the two, you can purchase both of them through this Bliss Bundle for $195. What these processes do is truly priceless and truly difficult to fully explain or understand without experiencing it. It's like trying bubble tea for the first time. How do you explain that to somebody? You have to feel it. You have to taste it. You have to experience it. Purchasing one or both of these processes also includes a link to a more in-depth talk called Guide to Soul Repair Package of Master John explaining these processes and what they do, which I highly recommend listening to. Nobody can talk about this better than Master John. He is the conduit for this information, for this body of knowledge here on this planet at this time. Listening to him is the very best way, better than anything I could ever do, to try to convey this knowledge, even in iota. So if you have the chance to ever listen to him, I highly recommend it. Master John talks about how soul repair brings wisdom and clarity to the divine essence of your soul. Several of the other processes also include talks from him that explain them in depth, and they are fascinating if you get a chance to listen. I'm going to leave it there for today. The next episode is about the food repair disc, a tool known to perform countless miracles each day and can fit in your purse or pocket. If you are interested in looking at these tools or finding out more, visit globalcma.org. And again, I do not get any material kickbacks for any of this. I'm sharing these tools in this season because I'm on my 9th year of using them, and my life has transformed in unfathomable ways because of them. Take it or leave it. This is not a journey for everyone, but it is available to everyone. As always, thank you for listening. Stay positive, stay safe, and stay meta.
The Let's Get Metaphysical podcast is an Up, and Awaken production and is produced and hosted by Renata Maniaci. Our intention is to raise the vibration of the planet by sharing, validating, and normalizing spiritual and metaphysical experiences. The Let's Get Meta podcast is inspired by angels and supported by angels. If you would like to be a patron angel of the podcast, visit patreon.com/letsgetmeta. Thank you for listening. Stay meta.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.